Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. Mark Twain is reported to have said, "To a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail." The tool which academics have to raise funding these days is climate change. So everything automatically gets blamed on climate change, even if there's no evidence to support that assertion. There's a new study out blaming a purported change in the size of migratory birds in North America on increasing temperatures. And academics are also claiming that there's been a decline in bird numbers also due to climate change. Here is the abstract from the paper in Ecology Letters. They say, "We demonstrate that increasing annual summer temperature over the 40-year period predicts consistent reductions in body size across these diverse taxa." But note that what they demonstrated was predictions rather than actual evidence. Climate-related research is based almost entirely on predictions. If we look at this quote from the author, it's pretty easy to see what's going on. We had good reason to expect that increasing temperatures would lead to reductions in body size. It's pretty obvious the authors entered this study with a preconceived notion about the outcome. Now let's look at the actual data for the United States and see if the author's conclusions are valid. These graphs from the National Climate Assessment tell us a lot about summer temperatures in the United States. The length of warm spells in the United States is way down since the 1930s. The magnitude of heat waves is also way down, as is the warmest temperature of the year. The blue dots on this map show that summers have cooled across most of the United States. But note where the authors started their study. They cherry-picked 40 years ago, which was right at the low point in U.S. summer temperatures. This is a pretty common trick for academics, which I've documented over and over again. Let's take a closer look at the data from the United States Historical Climatology Network. Annual maximum temperatures in the United States have declined sharply over the last century. Mean temperatures in the United States have also declined over the last century. However, they have risen some since the author's cherry-picked start date of 40 years ago. The frequency of days over 80 degrees Fahrenheit has declined sharply in the U.S. over the last century, and there really hasn't been much of an increase over the last 40 years. It's the same story with 90-degree days and 100-degree days. The first warm day of the year is coming a little bit later, and the last warm day of the year is coming earlier. So it's pretty clear that there's no evidence to back up the author's assumptions. Now let's look at winter temperatures. This is the front page of the alarmist website, Weather Underground. They appear to be finally dealing with the reality that winters are getting colder and snowier in the United States. This graph from Rutgers University Global Snow Lab shows that autumn snow cover in North America has increased sharply over the last 50 years. This indicates that Arctic air is intruding to lower latitudes, causing precipitation to fall as snow rather than rain. And the same story with winter snow extent, which has also been increasing for the last 50 years. If you follow me, you know that I'm a bird photographer and that I spend many hours a week out photographing birds. This is a red-tailed hawk which I photographed yesterday in the snow at Boulder, Colorado. And here's one I photographed on January 1st in Phoenix, Arizona. Birds are used to living in a huge range of different climates. This is a male American kestrel which I photographed 2 days ago in Boulder. And here's one I photographed in Phoenix last May during a week of 100-degree weather. These birds are used to gigantic swings in temperature. The idea that a tiny imaginary change in temperature over 40 years could somehow change their size seems pretty ridiculous. This is what the desert northeast of Phoenix looked like on New Year's Day this year. In the summer there, temperatures are over 100 degrees almost every single day. Yet you can go out and find red-tailed hawks out there all year round. Birds don't read climate journals, watch CNN, or listen to Greta Thunberg. This is what Scottsdale, Arizona looked like on February 22nd of this year. And this is what the mountains west of Boulder look like on the first day of summer this year. I spend a lot of my time outdoors, and the idea that the U.S. climate is getting warmer, particularly summer, seems pretty laughable. Here's another article from bird observers in Montana discussing the same topic. They say that the number of kestrels in North America has been declining for more than 50 years, and they also say that researchers are not sure what's causing the decline. Then the article says, one possible explanation for the shift towards smaller birds is reduced food supply owing to a warming climate. Despite the appeal of these hypotheses, so far none of them has held up to scrutiny. In other words, blaming the decline in size and numbers of North American birds on global warming is junk science. As a bird lover and observer, I don't have any doubt that bird populations are declining. I've observed a decline in the number of kestrels in South Boulder just over the last few years. Much more plausible explanations for the decline in bird numbers are habitat loss and use of pesticides. The great American physicist and Nobel laureate Richard Feynman said, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool." The article researchers started out with a preconceived notion and ended up with junk science. However, this is a much more serious problem than just junk science. Climate hysteria has led to an actual decline in the number of birds. Wind farms are being erected all over the country as a response to climate hysteria, and they kill huge numbers of birds. Just one wind farm in California at Altamont Pass kills an estimated 880 to 1,300 birds of prey every year. This includes up to 116 golden eagles, 300 red-tailed hawks, 380 burrowing owls, and additional hundreds of other raptors, including kestrels, falcons, vultures, and other owl species. That's nearly one red-tailed hawk and one burrowing owl every single day, and just from one wind farm. The bottom line is that climate junk science is actually leading birds of prey towards extinction. And as a bird lover and photographer, I find this very disturbing. This madness needs to be stopped. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.